Hello, I'm Allen Newberry, and today we're going to forge the blade for this sword you see here. First step is going to be to forge a point on the end of the bar. I am working with a flat bar of 5160 steel. Whenever I'm forging the point onto a bar of steel, I usually like to start with a heavier hammer, in this case a 6-pound hammer. Now that I have the point started, I'm going to switch over to a smaller 3-pound hammer and refine the shape so that I can get it to where I want it before I go over to the power hammer. I've just about got the shape of the tip how I want it, so now I can go over to the power hammer and really start to shape the tip of the sword. Now we're getting to the point to where we're not just working on the very tip, and we're actually kind of starting to stretch some of the sword right out of the bar. We have now moved on to the middle of the sword, and basically we're just working on getting kind of the profile of the blade done. The bevels are actually going to be forged by hand toward the end of the process. Now what I'm working on is the base of the blade. In this area it's a little bit wider, so I'm drawing out the material a little bit so I'll have it later on when I'm hammering by hand. Now that we're done with the bulk of the power hammer work, we've moved on to straightening. Right now I'm using a piece of wood to straighten the blade. A piece of wood is good for straightening a blade where you don't want to put a lot of dents into the blade. In this case, a hammer probably wouldn't be that big of a deal for using it because it's still pretty thick, but a piece of wood or a wooden mallet helps a lot with that. Then I've moved on here to using the hammer, which is a lot better for doing a lot of the fine straightening. Now that I've got the sword straightened, I'm going to move on to putting the bevels in. So what I will do here is try to forge a little bit on both sides, flipping it over frequently, trying to be as even as possible. I'm starting at the tip, and then I'm going to work my way all the way down to the base of the sword. Keeping things straight while forging is always a challenge, but this is really amplified because a sword is pretty long. So as I'm forging the whole thing, I'm always straightening, and now that I've put in some bevels, I've got to do some more straightening. Now I have the blade forged and cut off of the parent bar, so now I'm going to start to work on the tang. This fullering tool will put indentations on the top and the bottom of the bar, and that will be the start of where I am going to create the tang. Forging a tang without a power hammer can be done, but it can be a bit of a chore. With a power hammer, it's actually kind of fun. Now that the tang has been forged, we're going to move into the final straightening. This is the most important one. Before we tried to keep everything straight as we're moving along, but now we have everything finally forged, and it needs to be nice and straight so that when we go into heat treating and grinding and all of that, that we have a nice straight platform to work from. This blade has now been forged, but there are still a lot of things left to do. I've got normalization processes to take it through, grinding, hardening, tempering, more grinding, polishing, putting on whatever finish I'm going to put on it. It's a long process, but the end result is a great sword that I really like. Thank you for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it.